afternoon, freaks. Today is all about you guys and the shit that you've got going on inside your body that's making running really, really annoying. We're gonna fix that today. Now, if you have any injuries that you want me to try and help you with in the future, write them in the comment section below and let's get going. Also, thank you to the commenters last week who commented the name of this series as Fix My Shit Fridays. That's pretty good. I like it. It sounds exactly like something that I would come up with. You guys are learning my mentality pretty quickly. So the first question is about shin splints. And I actually got two questions about shin splints. Slightly different, but let's just rip through it, hey? Okay, question number one about shins. I've been having shin splints since last year when I started running. It took 6 weeks off. I took 6 weeks off on 2 separate occasions, and that did not fix the issue. I decided to start back running and try and manage the pain. Since then, I've hit several PBs. Nice job. The pain affects me when I initially start running and continues at about a 4 out of 10 pain. How do I get that to a 0 or a 1? Well, firstly, a 4 out of 10 pain is pretty significant. The way that I think about it is that 0 is nothing. 1 is you are aware of that area. 2 is it's starting to impact the way that you're running, so you're being very apprehensive. And 3 is where it's actually pain limited. So if you're at a 4 on that kind of scale, then that's pretty significant, and it's probably the reason why it's not quite settling down. Now, shin splints are very tricky, especially when it comes to cases that are really long-term like this, when it's several months in a row, you just can't quite get rid of it. That's generally because the periosteum and the bone of the tibia are affected in some capacity. The tissue in those areas are really, really bad. Fun fact, what you can actually see sometimes is that on people's x-rays, you can see that that side of the bone that's really symptomatic is actually starting to reduce in bone density, which could lead to stress fractures or ongoing shin splints. Both of them are really painful. And that's because you're constantly pulling on that area of bone when that tibialis posterior tendon is pulling. Every time you step on the ground, it's pulling on that periosteum and the bone. That is going to cause a lot of issues over time. Here's the tricky part, because 6 weeks off would have actually made your calves and the bone itself and the periosteum all weaker. Even though the pain might have come down a little bit, the tissues themselves wouldn't have gotten stronger in that time. They may have rebuilt a little bit, but the actual, structure itself has gotten significantly weaker, and that is why your problem has not been solved. What we have to do is find the perfect amount of loading that will help this tissue to build itself back up stronger and stronger over time so that we can eventually get back to a pain-free state. I'm going to show you what that kind of looks like on the whiteboard. So here is a little graph of what actually happens when you load up tissues in your body. So you do an exercise, and what actually happens is the tissue strength itself goes down because you've broken down those tissues, and then it rebuilds, but it rebuilds at a higher level than what you did. So here's the injury playbook. You load up these tissues and you don't wait long enough for them to actually get stronger. We hit them in that low point where they're actually weaker. And then what happens is over time, we hit them again and again and again and again and again, and the tissues continue to get weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker, and then bang, they start to be painful. What we want to do is reintroduce this concept of 48-hour cycles where we're stimulating the tissues to grow, allowing them to get stronger than they were before, and then starting to build them up slowly over time. Sometimes we cannot do that with a current schedule, and luckily for you, you're already smashing PB, so you can probably afford to actually have a deload week and start to get on top of this tissue strength problem that you're having. Now, thankfully, at this stage that you're at right now, you are actually able to run, and the characteristics of it is that it settles down once it's warmed up, which is a great sign that you're probably on the right track in terms of getting on top of this. You might just need a slight deload in the impact forces through your ankles whilst you start to actually improve the strength of your calves and your ankles to be able to take more load and allow that bone to actually increase in its strength, and the periosteum too. So my advice would be to do the exercises that I'm about to show for the next question and also have a deload week where you can just relax a little bit. You can probably even do some cross training just to maintain that aerobic base and give yourself a little bit of a break. If you're already in PB shape, I just wouldn't even take the risk of trying to push through this. Like, what is even the point? Another PB? You already had a PB, and we need to just take it easy and make sure that we are healthy, because when we're healthy, we can absorb way more training than if we're niggly and have some sort of issue that's given us a 4 out of 10 pain. That's quite significant. Now, pain is very tricky. And what I would say is that you should journal what's actually going on and focus on what you feel like after your run and then the day after as well. Because then you can get an idea of if there's like an inflammatory response going on. It might take a day for your body to catch up to let you know that you've done too much. So what we have to do is work on this 48-hour cycle where we load up the body, see how it responds. If it responds positively, the next time that we do something with our body, we can add a little bit into it again. And what we can do is supplement all of that training lost with cross training and do some strength work I'm about to show you now. Hopefully that helps. And some things just to keep in the back of your mind is if this becomes a bit more of a stress reaction, and the way that you would differentiate that would be that, like you mentioned, the pain sticks around and then it goes away after you've warmed up. A stress reaction will not. A stress reaction will be intense focal pain in an exact spot along the bone itself, and it will not go away, and it'll be very, very painful. So keep an eye out for things like that just in case, because I don't want you to get a stress reaction or a stress fracture. Let's look after our health, people. Let's not push for more PBs than we've actually asked for, okay? Next question. So this is another shin one. It's a dull, constant ache along the front left side of the shin. Then it has shin splints in the quotation marks. What would be the best exercises to help relieve the aches? So I would suggest that this guy also take the same advice as the person before with the other question, but here are the exercises that I find to be really valuable for shin splints. So the first one obviously is calf raises, because the calves are taking a lot of the load when you're running. And so if the calves are quite weak relative to what you're trying to actually do with them, then they're absolutely going to result in some sort of breakdown, whether it's shin splints or tendinopathies, whatever it is. Plus, you really can't mess up calf raises. What I would say is to load up and monitor how you feel after and then the day after, and start to build up this calf strength, because you can't go wrong getting strong with your calves, that's for sure. Now, the next thing that I would do would be start doing exercises that improve your foot strength, particularly your arch strength. Because the thing is, the arch of the foot is actually controlled by the tibialis posterior muscle, which is attaching into where you're getting these shin splints. So if you're able to improve the strength and the ability to take load through that muscle and also improve your arch stability, you're going to improve your shin splints, that's for sure. So don't skimp this one, it's very, very important. Okay, and the next question is about the knee. So I've recently started having pain in the patella tendon after the end of a run. That is the tendon right here. The thing is, right now the pain is very light and I can run without feeling during the run. My question is whether I should be trying to rehab it like a full-blown injury, or is there another way around it? I've already been in a routine of strength training and some hip mobility, and wondering if simply reducing load for a week or two would do the trick. Would be greatly appreciated. Any help? Cool. So I think a deload would actually help, just like any injury, because the tendon itself is asking to have a different kind of load to what you're giving it right now, because if it was the right kind of load, the tendon would not be painful. So there's going to be an element of deload in this, whether it's 1 week or 2 weeks, it doesn't really matter. What's going to have to happen is you're going to have to take away the really impactful stuff, which is technically the hardest things for tendons to adapt to, and go back to some basic patella tendon strengthening exercises before progressing back into some sort of running. Now, like you said, it's not too bad and it's more just kind of dull and you can still get away with running. So what I would say would be to cut out the intensity from your training schedule and then maybe take a little bit off your easy recovery runs so that you can still get a deload but get in some easy running. Maybe get on some grass as well, might be helpful just to drop the impact down, and then we can start to work through these exercises that I'm about to show you right now. Okay, so the first exercise is super easy, a wall sit. So the issue with the patella tendon is that it does not like compressive loads, okay? So if you're doing things where the knee is going over the toe, the patella tendon not only gets pulled in this direction, it also gets torqued around the top of the tibia, and it does not really like that. So what we want to do is stay out of that knees over toes area whilst we're trying to calm this down. Now, when you're running, as you take a step on your foot, you pretty much tend to roll your whole body weight over your knee, and then that knee goes over the toe. And that can be very, very provocative. So the first thing that we're going to do is just nice, easy isometrics above 90, like this. So if that's 90 degrees here, we're going to be just above that. And what we can do is 45-second holds times 3. As we get more comfortable with that and we're not getting any kind of flare up, actually, we can drop this down to level like that. This stuff can be done daily just to start to increase the strength of that tendon and calm it down a little bit. Once we can do that, we can progress to doing single leg isometric holds on the wall. So that would look like this. So we would take the leg off and we could hold that. Now, I guarantee you that right now you probably can't do 45 seconds like that at 90 degrees. So that is a pretty telltale sign that your knees are probably weak. Give it a try. If you have never tried that before, it's really, really hard, and I don't think I could even do it either, but besides the point. Now this one is for the last exercise, but the next thing that we're gonna do is some single leg squats. So now we're loading up just past the knee, nice and slow on one leg. So the idea behind this is that we're just starting to introduce some knee over toe compressive forces through the tendon. Is a decline squat. So the idea behind a decline squat is that the heel is going to be raised and the knee is going to go over the toe, and it's going to start to introduce that compressive force that you get when you're running. So we want to slowly introduce that in a controlled way before we start to add any speed or plyometric stuff, okay? So we're going to go on the weight plate like this. Get the pads of our feet on the ground with our heel on, and then we can start to add really slow, controlled, single leg squat. Cool, so once you're able to do this pretty easily and you're still continuing on with your easy runs on grass, we can start to add in some plyometric stuff. All you have to do is start with some double leg jumping and singular jumps and lands, and progress slowly into some single leg stuff. When you can do single leg stuff pretty comfortably, then that tendon is starting to feel really, really lush. Okay guys, that is all the injuries for this week. Apparently you guys are getting fixed and getting fitter because you didn't even comment on your injuries. So thanks a lot. If there's anyone else that has injuries, put them in the description below and we'll get on top of them next Friday. Take it easy. Have a good weekend. See you later.